In honor of the Ides of March, what was a time you were stabbed in the back by your closest friends? I was in a geek rock band in college. We played around Chicago almost weekly. We also had a side job as a jazz band. We were pretty tight. We went to each other's weddings, hung out outside of gigs, etc. After several years of this friendship, I was going through a divorce. I kept gigging with them. One gig with the jazz group was rough. I wasn't there emotionally. I didn't miss a note and had some pretty sweet solos, but I probably looked like I'd just been beaten and drugged. A few weeks later, I get a mass email saying, "Come to our next gig with new bassist, Joe Schmo." I was devastated. Not one of them had said anything to me. No one had checked in. No one had cared enough to say, "You're going through a rough time. Maybe you want to take off for a bit." One of the guys is a fellow teacher nearby, and I have to see him a few times a year. Breaks my heart again every time. Edit. Thanks for all the comments. No way I can answer them all, but I appreciate that my event resonated with so many. And thank you for the gold. A few short additions. There was no other straw leading up to this. We were happy and creatively awesome as a group. The lead singer had a slight Napoleon complex when it came to some things, but nothing crazy. We all gelled really well all the time. The worst part was that I felt like these were my best friends. Yes, I too saw School of Rock. I've done well with my life. I miss them often. As someone said below, you may have many girlfriends over your life, but you may only get one good band. The guitarist, closest one to me and fellow teacher, called me a few weeks later and admitted it was supposed to be his job to tell me. That conversation is a blur, though. I haven't said a word to him since. That was 7 years ago. I had a great friend that I knew since 4th grade. When we both got out of the military, we decided to get an apartment and were roommates for about 8 months. I was working 2 jobs, so I was not around a lot. One day our apartment manager caught me in the hallway and asked me if I had the rent. At the time I was giving my roommate the rent, and he said he was paying it. Turns out he had not paid the previous 2 months and had pocketed my cash. I ended up paying for 4 months of rent for both of us, got evicted, and lost my security deposit. Edit. You people are funny. Sorry about assuming your species. I was only 22 at the time and a little naive about things. Where I live, if you sign a lease, both parties are 100% responsible for the rent. It's a college town, you cannot rent without that in your lease. I paid him cash because I didn't have a checking account. I had a spending problem, and not having a credit card or checkbook stopped me from getting into debt. It worked but was hugely inconvenient. I was also working 2 jobs, so I did not have a lot of free time during the day. I was home late at night or Sundays. I didn't worry about my bro ripping me off. We were good friends. I was a devil dog. He was a devil dolphin. We had each other's backs. Lesson learned. Thanks for the gold. Damn, that's quite close to what my roommate did. We met as co-workers, got along well enough, and decided to split on a nearby apartment. Things were going just great. We had a system where we simply split the rent in half, and each of us respectively paid our half of the rent. After a year or so, he quit that job and got another one nearby. No problem. A while later I find out he's out of that job and on the market. Okay. In the meantime, he's borrowed a few bucks here, a couple there, and that slowly added up. He owed me around $1,000, I think. Finally, I'm walking through the building, and one of the staff asks me what's going on. I'm confused, and he explained that we're about $1,500 behind on the rent, 1.5 months worth. It was so close to the wire that we were going to be kicked out the next day. By some miracle, I actually had enough to cover that, but now he owed me a lot more money, and I was goddamn pissed off. It went on for a while. He told me he would contact his mother, and she would be able to help him out. I made the mistake of taking his word on that, but after a couple of weeks of nothing I decided to contact her myself. Lo and behold, he had not mentioned this to her. So I apologetically explained the situation to her, then she spoke to him. Fortunately, everything turned out well, for me anyway. His mother paid me everything he owed me, plus enough to cover his next couple of months' rent. He found a job that he liked, and from that point, I paid the rent, and he paid me his portion, always on time. Wound up losing contact after we each moved on in life, but stayed on good terms, so I guess it all came out well in the end. I was in a band with some friends in high school. I wrote all the songs we played. They kicked me out and said they didn't like my music anymore and wanted to go another direction. I later found out they had booked a show and played my songs they said they hated. I felt pretty crummy after hearing that. They were totally different songs. You see, yours were like ding 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 da da ding ding. But theirs were like da ding 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 da da ding ding. Completely different songs. A couple of years ago I got really sick and moved back to my parents' house for a couple months. My roommate asked me if some friends of ours, his very long time friends, could stay in my room for a few days because they were temporarily homeless. They had like 4 kids and the kids had to stay somewhere else. It was Christmas time and these people were pretty poor and weren't going to be able to afford presents for the kids. My parents were actually going to give them a couple $100 to help with presents. I came back to the house a week or 2 after they came and stayed only to discover they had stolen my MacBook, another laptop, a Kindle, a set of gaming headphones, and my external hard drive, like 15 years worth of pictures stored on there. They also stole my roommate's college ring. I'm still mad, and it's going on 3 years later. You don't steal from friends. Especially ones who are saving your homeless necks. Junkies with kids. Might explain why the kids stayed somewhere else. And let's hope they always do. So, several years ago my grandmother died. Driving home from her house, she lived very close to us. We ran into one of my best friends driving the other way. He had known her and had eaten Sunday dinner at her place on several occasions, so we stopped to let him know that she had passed and went / where the funeral would be. While we were at her funeral, he and a couple of other guys broke into our apartment and stole all of our beep. Then, a couple of nights later, they tried to break into her apartment too, but a neighbor saw them and scared them off. This guy had been near the top of my best friends list and we'd known each other for about 12 years. I was 18 at the time. Edit, since people keep asking. No, he wasn't a drug addict at the time. He may have gotten into drugs later, not sure, haven't spoken to him since, but he only smoked weed at the time. WTF, that's next level evil, sorry about that. This is why you always have a friend of the family house sit during a funeral. A bit sure is a perfect indication someone won't be home. Back in November I took in a friend whose BF kicked her out. She lived with me completely free of charge up until this month, because she was unable to get a job. Well, at the start of the month she got a job finally, and of course we agreed she'd start paying the same rent and bills as everyone else in the house. That was all set and fine until she decided she wanted to get a tattoo with her first pay. I said that's fine, but make sure we have rent money first and tattoo afterwards. You would have thought I told her her first month's rent was the soul of her firstborn. She went up a beep, screaming about how I'm a horrid cunt who's never done anything for her and she shouldn't have to pay because it isn't fair because she wants to use her money for her things. She screamed and swore until my neighbors came over because they were worried. This all coming from the girl that I had given everything to: food, clothes, a home. I shared my beeping bed with her for Christ's sake, but the second I told her she was expected to contribute to the house, I was suddenly the worst human being to ever take a breath. So she left last night after making that huge scene, called me every name in the book, and had her next victim pick her up. Poor guy. Soon enough she'll do the same thing to him. She's done this more times than I can count. She makes a sob story about getting kicked out of her last place, moves in, doesn't contribute and is generally a lazy slob until the person she's leeching off of wises up and kicks her out, or does like I did and just simply said she'd need to pay rent and shell book it to the next house where she can keep playing poor me. I thought it'd be different because we were such close friends, but no. I will be regretting letting her into my life for a very long time. Sorry for the novel. This just happened yesterday, and I'm still so beeped off. There's a reason why her BF kicked her out. Dated my best friend for about 3 years. About a year and a half in, her mom passed away, and she took it really hard. For several months, I was there for her every day helping her cope. It was difficult, but we got through it together. A year later my dad died from a sudden heart attack. She broke up with me after 2 weeks, because you're just not fun to be around anymore. Edit. My highest comment is about he lowest point in my life. Cool I guess. Damn dude, that's rough. Dated a girl for 3.5 years, and helped her through being bipolar and trying to kill herself. She dumps me because I was going to school and basically couldn't afford to help her and do all the stuff she wanted to. Edit. I just want to say the breakup was not 100% her fault or solely because of her being bipolar. We had a ton of regular issues that were never addressed and everything just added up to be too much. I don't want anyone to think it was 100% the girlfriend's fault. Obviously it's never all one person's fault a breakup happens. I was on the floor of the Senate after years of successful military campaigns, expanding the size and strength of my republic, and instituting mass reform for my people. Unfortunately, the upper-class senators weren't too down with that, and unfortunately, the senators whom I had worked closely with for such a long time stabbed me 23 times at the base of the Curia of Pompeii. My roommate tried to convince my girlfriend that I was secretly a rapist and a pedophile, got his girlfriend and some others, and held an intervention where she couldn't leave until she said she was going to do something about me. Luckily, my girlfriend decided to talk to me, realized it was all bullshit, and is still by my side today. My roommate dropped out of college and still hasn't finished their degree. But why did your roommate do it? I used to have 2 very good friends when I was 19 years old. We always hung out and smoked weed together. One day, the 2 of them teamed up on me and said, "We think you are only friends with us, so you can smoke our weed. If you want to prove that you are really our friend, you should pay for all the weed we smoke for the next 2 months." Each of us, including me, had always fairly contributed to our purchases, so this was completely unwarranted. Also, it's completely ridiculous to ask your friend to prove his friendship by paying things for you. So yeah, I told them to beep off and blocked them on all social media. Never saw them again. 2 years later, I met one of the 2 at a concert. He told me that he wasn't friends with the other guy anymore because he realized what a manipulative asshole that guy was. He explained to me that the guy had talked him into ganging up on me back then, and I forgave him, so we became friends again. Was friends with the guy since middle school. We were inseparable. I helped him with his depression, got him to move out of his parents' house, supported him when he was emotionally wrecked, etc. But the moment I lost my job and became depressed, he wasn't there for me. Stopped talking to me, hanging out with me, answering my messages. Asked him why he was ignoring me, and he said I was being too sad. I stabbed my friend in the back. One day in grade 7, I was sick, so I stayed home from school. Since I wasn't deathly ill, I played RuneScape, a game my whole friend group was playing at the time. When I logged on, I saw my friend Jordan online. Dated a girl all through high school, but when school ended we started drifting apart because real life was coming at us fast, and it's just the way things were. We didn't officially break up, but we became a lot less close than we had been. Then one night my phone rings at like 2:30 AM and it's my best friend calling. I figure he needs a ride home from a party or something, so I answer to see what's up, and it's her. Well, it was him calling. But I hear her in the background laughing, at which point he starts laughing too. I'm thoroughly confused and pretty much start yelling into the phone, "What the beep? What the beep is going on?" And then I hear the unmistakable sound of naked skin slapping naked skin with her moaning like crazy. Yeah, she cheated on me with my best friend and called me in the middle of the sex as a joke, so I could hear them going at it via speakerphone. Relationship instantly over, friendship instantly over. That was 16 years ago. Haven't spoken a word to either of them since, and the few times I've seen him, I believe she moved away. Thank God. I just breeze right past him as if he doesn't exist. I've had trust problems with people ever since that night though. It would be one thing to have a relationship end or a friendship fall apart, but to have both of them, the two people I trusted most, that had been by my side for years, do that to me? Done. Edit. To clear up some confusion. This was back in 2001 but dialing wasn't as common because everyone had like flip phones then, so you couldn't accidentally hit any numbers because if the phone was in your pocket then there was no chance of you hitting the keypad. As for it being a joke or they were faking it, who knows? I never bothered to find out, and when it's 2:30 AM and you're only hearing things via a phone, you make your own conclusions. I do know that we never spoke again after that, so I kind of figured, had it been a joke, one of the two of them would have spoken up at some point and been like, hey man, funny joke we pulled the other night, or something, but that never happened. I just got treated to what I described above, and then it was instant end of relationship and friendship.